Lots of reports of trouble yesterday. What's the latest that you're hearing?
Well, the latest that I can bring you is an emerging picture of the extent that voting was impacted by these issues. The ministry which arranged the election has released a statement now saying that some 4,362 polling stations were in some way affected. They're mainly in the Mopti region, that's the troubled central region of Mali. And so they make up about 20% of all polling stations nationwide. And they've also said that some 644 of those were affected so badly that no voting took place at all. And so this news follows a whole series of events yesterday, including a stray mortar, which affected voting. And so what happened there, we've now learned, is that around a dozen mortars were fired at a UN peacekeeping base outside Ajalhouk in the far north of the country, and one of them went astray, landed near a polling station, causing panic there. And we've now learned that the main Al-Qaeda-backed group in the north of Mali, called JNIM, has claimed that as their own attack. They've said that it was directly in response to the electoral process, that they see that as anti-Islamic. And they also see France, the former colonial power, playing a game, and they want to install another puppet here. This followed other events throughout the country, again, mainly in the central regions. We had reports from Mopti's governor and from the Ministry of Defence, which included things such as police stations being set on fire, polling stations being set on fire, voting materials themselves being burnt, and also voting agents being kidnapped. So this is all despite 30,000 security personnel being on the streets.
And Frank, what impact then could this have on turnout and indeed the overall result?
Well, this is still something of an unknown, but we don't expect the turnout to be high. In fact, Mali has a historically low turnout rate, and it peaked at the last election, 2013, at just 45% of the electorate. Back then, there was a lot more hope. The North had just been returned after French intervention. This time around, the country is a lot more dangerous, and we've heard that many polling stations were actually closed. So, on the one hand, we have worse security situation, but then also this time around, people seem a little bit more engaged. They're more vocal in their protests. They've been out on the streets. And so another issue there is that the majority of the population is actually in the south, where we are now, in the Bamako area and the south. The majority of the population's here. There were no real incidents around this area, although, once again, we don't expect turnout to be high. Ballots are being counted at the moment, and we don't expect any news until Wednesday at the earliest. Electoral law here means that the authorities have until Friday. It's quite a complicated process with lots of observer oversight. And then once the result is in, we'll know whether or not this has just been the first round. If there's no majority winner by Friday, then there'll be a second round 2 weeks' time on the 12th of August.